Knowledge is power. Make an impact by learning more. Call us right now for more help at 866-945-8070. It is officially 8:01 on my clock. Nope, don't want to end the meeting. Nope, that's not what I wanted to click on.
Oh, just one quick question. So clip speed on Camtasia, does that speed it up or slow it down?
Depends which way you go, I think. I think you can do either or.
Okay, I don't know.
So whatever the default setting is, if you make it higher, it's probably faster. Lower, it's probably slower.
Okay. All right.
I mean, that's my best guess. I've never played with that before. All right, hold on. We're preparing the live stream. Oh my God, I'm so nervous.
It says it is live.
It says it for us, but it doesn't officially. I haven't hit the go live button on Facebook. That's just letting us know. But usually it is already live by the time I actually hit go live. It's a little funny like that.
Just in case you aren't prepared.
Exactly.
They might catch it, something funny.
It's a good thing I don't start this process while I'm also still getting dressed.
I was thinking more like shoving food in my mouth, but
well,
okay.
there's that too.
Well, you might get more fans. Who knows?
Exactly. A whole different kind of show. All right. So we've got the live feed officially here. I just want to share it in the Facebook group. Oops.
And I better mute my other computer.
Wait, hold on. Wait for it. We're about to go live here officially. I just got to post it in the group.
The anticipation. We need that music now, Adam.
Yeah, where's that music?
Oh, you wanted to hear it? I'm playing
the heavy metal. Yeah, I think I had used that at one time in a few videos.
Oh, hold up. Let me show you. I mean, we're talking about content, right? I can just show the Vimeo clip with the intro.
There you go. Okay, and by the way, we're live. Good morning. Happy Friday. It's August 10th, 2018. If you filed extensions or your clients filed extensions, you're in trouble. You got like a month left, and all the CPAs need everything within the next 5 days, or they will not file your stuff on time. So there.
So that explains why I have 30 clients coming out of the woodwork. So.
Exactly.
You guys want to see it real quick? The old
So get on it. Get it done. Meanwhile, we're not talking about filing tax returns or extensions today. We're talking about how to create content part 2, because there's stuff I didn't get to go over last time that I wanted to get over this time. And we're going to start with Adam showing us his latest and greatest tips and tricks on how he made his intro.
All right. Well, here's the old one that sort of Mariette told me that she liked.
Well, if Mariette told you that she liked it.
Okay, so it's 20 seconds right now.
Okay.
So the thing that I'm going to probably do is cut out the second transition and just have that as that.
So here's my quick story on the duration. Mine used to be 30 seconds because I thought it was really cool. It was an intro. There was music. I was telling people what it was about and giving my call to action. And then somebody I worked with one-on-one told me that she figured out that they were all the same exact 30 seconds. And she would automatically advance the scrubber right to the 30-second mark. And I thought, I wonder how many other people are doing that. And then I read something, I think I told you the other day, that suggested that the intro should be about 8 seconds, that seems to be the sweet spot.
Yeah. That's
Wow.
Who did the narration on the video?
Narration. Oh, that's Adam. He records his own voice.
Oh.
Yeah. And I think that's important because it's your brand. So, you know, you want people to hear your voice. I mean, I actually get a lot of feedback from people telling me they enjoy my voice. They enjoy listening to my videos, and that's part of why. And that scares me. But anyway.
Or we could hire Mike to to do everyone's.
We could. For Mike Henninger, who's in our 97 and Up group, has like the most awesome voice. It's just like this deep, strong voice. So if you ever need somebody to do your voiceovers for you, let me know. I'll put you in touch with Mike, and then I'll tell Mike what to charge and how much of a commission I get. The other day we were joking around. It was hilarious. It was like, sign up for my services or I'll kill you. We had him saying all kinds of things like that, just because I just like hearing what it sounds like when he says it. Good morning to our Facebook Live viewers. We have Linda Artisani, we have Mariette Martinez, we have Astrid, and at Mariette, by the way, Adam says, yes, so cool, just needs the call to action. Right. And by the way, Adam, I realized something because we talked in 97 Up the other day. I think I had it backwards. I think I told you that I did my topic first, then my call to action, and you said you did it the other way around. And I was watching one of my own videos yesterday, and I realized, oh crap, I was wrong. I do it the same way Adam does it. I do the call to action first, then the title.
Yep, I saw that this morning. I watched your profit video, and I know
you were like, he lied to me. But yeah, so, and I think I also said the other day, I don't think it's that critically important. The main thing is to get that call to action in there and up front before you start the actual content, because they may not watch it through. That's why I said the other day, I don't bother with outros, because when I watch my YouTube stats, it's very rare that very few people watch these videos all the way to the end. So I feel like the outro is just kind of a waste of time and wasted real estate. And remember that it's going to add another, at this point, in your case, Adam, 20 seconds to the duration of the video. And people look at that before they watch the video. That's the first thing I look at. When I'm about to watch a video, I look to see how long is it, because I want to answer the question, do I have time to watch this right now? Or is this something I want to come back to later, right? So if I see a video is 3.5 minutes, I will tend to want to watch that because I don't mind. It doesn't feel like I'm going to be held hostage for too long. But if I see a 20-minute video, I'm like, nah, maybe I'll come back later. I don't know if I have 20 minutes to spare on this right now. Unless it's something I just really need or I actively have sought out because I need to learn this thing, So that's where you can get away with a little bit more, because the nature of our content is that it's educational and helpful, right? It's not salesy. It's we're educating and inspiring. We're not selling people. Ironically, back of that is the fact that we end up selling people because they can see that we know what we're talking about. So we're the ones they want to hire because they've seen firsthand, because we've shown them that we actually know what we're doing.
So along those lines, do you ever put watermarks or just overlays over the video so that
No.
people know that it's Nerd Enterprises? Or you have a lot of little.
I mean, I have my logo and branding in the front of it. In theory, somebody could clip off my intro if they, there's ways to scrape videos off YouTube, even if you can't. And I think there are even apps that will let you download a video from YouTube. The quality is never going to be very good from what I've seen. But the reality is, one thing they're never going to be able to get out of there is my voice, right? So let them, like a long time ago, I remember Linda from lynda.com, which was later sold to LinkedIn. Somebody had asked her in an interview, did she worry about people stealing her content? And her response was, I'm glad it's my content they're stealing and not somebody else's. Meaning, because in the end, it's free PR, basically. If somebody wants to take my video and try and use it somewhere else, and it's come up. There was one time where a video of mine had been sort of completely repurposed on another site, but I got pingbacks. The idiots used everything exactly the same. So I got pingbacks on my WordPress site and found it. And I looked at it and I was like, I just posted a comment on it saying, hey, thanks for sharing my video. If anybody wants to see more, click here. And I gave them the link to my YouTube channel. And that's where Google Alerts comes in handy too. We mentioned Google Alerts last time. Adam told me earlier this week he's now using it. He said it was the best tip I ever gave him in his whole life.
Well, not the whole life.
Not the whole life.
It is really good. I mean, especially if you're really getting into blogging and producing content every day, there's ideas for you.
Right. Right. So, yeah, Google Alerts will also help you find your content if it's yours and it's elsewhere on the web, just putting in the right keywords. And you should definitely have a Google Alert set up for your brand, right? So that anytime anything gets posted on the web about your brand, like in my case, I have a Google Alert for Nerd Enterprises and Nerd Enterprises Inc. so that if anybody ever says anything about me online, I'm going to know about it like within a day, right? And I do watch for that because obviously there's a couple of ways this comes in handy. One, you know, if somebody's speaking negatively about you, you have a chance to deal with that, right? If it's somebody complaining about an experience they had, I can try and rectify it. You know, whatever it is, I want to know about stuff like that. Better yet, if people are saying nice things about me, I want to know about that too. I want to be able to thank them, right? Hopefully they're saying nice things about me and not mean things. But, you know, comes up. There's mean people out there in the social media world, right? I've encountered them. I encounter a lot of those people on YouTube. So real quick, I have begun, speaking of content, I've begun releasing lessons as of last night. I did it very quietly. I didn't tell anyone. I started a course called Automating Your Onboarding Process with Airtable, Smartsheet, and Google Forms. So the first series of lessons are up on the website, and each of them teaches you how to use either of those three products to create your form that you're going to use to gather information from new clients. And then the course is going to evolve into, what do you call it? How to use Zapier to then take the information they've given you, create the new customer in QuickBooks Online, create a new contact in your CRM with the appropriate tags and things, added them to a list in MailChimp, and create a task in Active Collab, which I'm using my own use case, obviously, to demonstrate where that task is the reminder that I need to set up their project. And then I have a project template in Active Collab, which is yet a different video that I did in the form of a webinar not too long ago. So that's out there right on the site. It's available to anyone who is signed up for either a $25 monthly subscription or higher. And you'll see it right there on subscription-based training on my website. So that's been released. And some of you who are watching this may not be members of 97 and up. That is where, as you might have picked up by now, we do a lot of this kind of stuff on Tuesdays and Thursdays in our weekly calls. And we talk about things, and Adam can bring his intro in and we can sort of critique it or tell him what we like, tell him what we don't like. So 97 and up is a place where you can join and come and spend more time with us, getting very direct and specific help on all of this stuff. So that's over here on the website for those of you who are not familiar. Under services and subscription-based training is where you'll find all of this. And I am going to move our 97 and up episodes over to the courses area. I think it just makes more sense. So here's the new course. I haven't written the description yet, but it's there. Automate Client Onboarding, Zapier, Airtable, Smartsheet, Google Forms. This is the first course I've really done that involves many applications in one course. If you notice, most of them involve a single application, right? So this is, and I've been sort of promising to do this for a long time, and now I'm doing it. It will involve all of these products and more as we go, because then we're going to get into how to automate the contract. I've been playing around with Google Documents templates for the contract because, again, once the clients give me information, I can take that information and stick it anywhere, including onto a Google Doc. I've tested that part. It's just a question of being able to do it the way we would do it with what we call merge tags, where I can take the name and put it in a specific spot in that Google Doc. So as I play with that and perfect the process, I will roll out more lessons on that. So, but back to today's topic at hand, tips and tricks for content creators, part 2. I got tongue-tied for a second there. Marietta asks, would love a discussion on when our free videos should become paid courses. You know, that's a bit subjective. I don't know that I would ever do free videos and turn them into a paid course. I would either do a free video or I would write a course, right? I would do them as two separate things. What you could do, and we did something like this, it's one of the courses that's there on the site on tax planning and projections, where I did actually take some free YouTube videos that were scattered across the internet and I compiled them in a single course, making it easier to find, and that's also in there and available to anyone who signed up for $25 a month and higher. Excuse me. But that's rare. Normally what I would do is if I want to do a paid course, I will write the content and outline it and do a paid course. You know, or it might be that I have some free videos that inspire a course, but I wouldn't use those same videos. I would create new videos that, you know, the idea in my mind is that I always want to, if somebody's paying for something, I want to give them something more than what they can get for free on YouTube. And what was the name of the cool graphic app from last week? Marrietta's asking. The cool graphic app. I'm not sure. There's Canva. That's really cool. That lets you create little graphics pretty easily, cloud-based, and not too expensive. But if you look at the show notes from last week, the episode is on the site. All the resources that were mentioned, I put in there. I went through the Facebook feed and put it in there. So if we go over, just go over to the Zoom In with Seth David episodes under podcasts, and you'll find, it was 2 weeks ago actually, the tips and tricks for content creators. Let me just look real quick and see if we've got that app that Marriott's referring to. There was arefs.com and then useloom.com. Those are the two resources that were mentioned, actually. That's all. And those were from Matt, I believe, and then somebody else posted them.
I've started using Loom, and it's pretty slick because I'm able to just do a quick little snippet video and send it over to my new employee, showing her how we do this.
Right.
It's done.
So that's how you're using it. And I imagine it would be useful also just to send clients a quick video, like, hey, here's your answer to your question or problem.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. So, Marion, I'm not sure what the app is you're referring to. She says like the brain, but like a roadmap. Oh, that wasn't from that. I think you're talking about. It was from 97 and up, not Zoom. I was showing you guys Lucid Chart. Lucid Chart is where I outlined an onboarding roadmap, which is going to get incorporated into this course that I'm launching. And I'll show you guys that real quick. I'll share my screen in a second. I know it's not being shared. So this is something else I showed in a bit more detail in 97 and up. I've begun to create this in Lucid Chart. It needs to be updated and then completed. But this is basic. It's like, think like flowchart on steroids. You can outline anything, and you have access to all kinds of graphics and things to make it visual. So I'll wait for this to load. So you can see here, and this is, you're looking at the back end of it. Let me look at the, it'll just be easier to look at the presentation version. A little bit of scroll there. All right, so this is basically like a map I created. Like you have the prospect coming in here, right? They come in, they choose a plan. Here's a pricing table. And then I have recommended apps, which is Fat Cat apps for pricing tables that works with WordPress. And then they're going to come in, and then the onboarding process is going to begin. They're going to get the welcome email. And when you see a Google Doc icon like this, that means you can click on it, and it will launch a Google document, which you can grab as a template. So since we're talking about creating content here, what I'll say on this, without going too deep or off to the side on this specifically, this is a great way to create content. Right? It's a great platform to use to outline something, especially when you're talking about some kind of a workflow. So I highly recommend getting into Lucid Charts, because that's the first thing I saw was this would be a really cool way to present something. And you'll see throughout this, I've got videos embedded, so you can embed videos. So if you're outlining a workflow and you want to create content teaching that workflow, you can stick videos in here that will be interactive, and people can click and actually play the video from the published version. You're looking at the raw form of it right now. So consider Lucid Chart as another platform. I really felt like I was stepping into a whole new sort of genre of creating content. You have video, you have podcast, but this was something that I haven't seen anybody else using it this way. And when the company reached out to me and said, hey, we'd love for you to try our product, this is what I saw immediately. And I created, this is almost like a course unto itself. And then it got to a point where I was about to publish it, and I was going to make it available for like $47 because it's got the videos and it's got templates woven throughout it. The email templates, the contract templates, everything you need for the whole onboarding process. And then I got sort of sidetracked and put it on the back burner and never quite finished it. So now that I'm doing this course on automating your onboarding workflow, I'm probably going to bring that back into the fold and finish it and update it. It does need some updating and finishing. So definitely something to look at, especially if you're the kind of person who likes the details and likes to put the content together, but maybe you don't love video or you don't want to do video. Some people are shy, because you could do that without the video, right? Or you get somebody else's video and stick it in there if you wanted to. Or just collaborate with somebody, maybe somebody else that you know wants to do the video, so you can get them to do the videos and you can do everything else. But so Lucidchart is great because then you can publish that to a web page, and then you would protect that. Just going back up the questions here. Do you tease your paid courses in your free videos, kind of like a preview of what you get when you pay? Traditionally, what most content creators will do is they'll give you little snippets. Lynda.com was famous for this. They would give you, like the first 5 minutes of a lesson, right? And then you'd get to the end and you have to click over and sign up and pay to get the rest. I don't love that approach. I just feel like it's almost like a bait and switch, like you're drawing people in thinking they're going to get this great content only to find out that they're not really getting all the great content that they thought they were getting. I feel like it's a little misleading and deceitful. I've always felt that way. So what I will generally do is I'll make like the first lesson in a course free, or maybe I'll create another video that is free that kind of overviews the whole thing. But I always want to make sure that video that I do gives something complete away that people can actually use, right? I don't like, I don't like sort of teasing or misleading people. Brandon asked, Lucid does contracts. Did I say that? Well, no. So again, what Lucid will do is it gives me a platform for outlining a workflow. And what I did with that particular Lucid project was I have documents that I've created, contracts included, that I've got in a Google document. So a lot of people are often asking in our Facebook groups, hey, can I get a copy of people's contracts? I'd love to use that for my clients. So that's what I've done with Lucid, among other things, is I've put those contract templates linked in that Lucidchart workflow that I've created. And so ultimately that's what I'm selling, is the access to those templates that I've created and the workflow itself that outlines, how to start, where to start, what to do, and the whole process, right? So again, Lucidchart it's a way of creating a flow chart, but it's a way of creating a very interactive flow chart. And then, so if you want to create content that you might sell like that, you can do that and then publish it to you can get the embed code and you put it in a web page on your website, on a protected page, right? A page that, like I've got with WooCommerce subscriptions, I can protect the pages, and I'm going to embed that whole flowchart that I've created into the course. So if somebody wants access to it, they can pay the $25 and have access to that plus everything else that I have for $25. So that's again, a great use case for Lucidchart, but I can think of a lot of other things we can do, with Lucidchart in terms of, I know that a lot of us are very visual and we love that kind of detailed outline that gives us that visual look, especially when it comes to any kind of workflow. I'm really going to be thinking in terms of using Lucidchart to lay out that workflow very clearly, because I think it makes it really easy to create something that's very visual and easy to absorb for the user who's coming and trying to learn from us. So what I wanted to actually kind of recap a little bit of what we talked about last time, and then get into some of the stuff that I didn't get to last time. But the questions are great, so keep them coming. If I end up spending the entire hour answering questions, that's probably the best, the most successful Zoom we can have, because that means I'm getting into specific things that you guys want answers to. So keep those questions coming. Doesn't look like we have any questions on the Facebook group. Sarah says, which Lucidchart plan do you have that enables you to share? I don't recall. I usually start with the lowest plan, but I look at the options, and then if I see that there's something I want to be able to do that's not included, I just upgrade to the next one. So I don't recall. It's been a long time. I've had that product for like well over a year now. I just haven't spent much time with it, and it's not expensive from what I recall. I want to say it's maybe like, I don't know, $50 a year or something silly like that. Have I done a Zoom on the settings for a private page to purchase from our website? I haven't, because there's so many different products that people use or can use for this kind of thing. I mean, I use WordPress and WooCommerce because I find that that's the easiest. We had a conversation recently in the VMAP, the video group, where people were coming in with, I think Hector likes to use Teachable, and there's platforms like Udemy. And a lot of people like to use those because they make it easier for you to get your courses up. What I don't like about that is now I've got to share my revenue with somebody else. In fact, if I understand correctly, the pricing models of most of these things, it seems like they get the lion's share of the revenue. So it's almost like I'm getting a commission on my own, brainchild. So I don't like that at all. I'd much rather get all of the revenue and put it up on my own site. But it means I have to put a little extra work in because I have to learn how to use WordPress and how to use WooCommerce and Woo subscriptions and get all that set up. Or I've got to hire somebody to help me do it if I don't know how to do it myself. But I am sort of very dead against having to share revenue with somebody else for my creation. That bothers me. So that's why you'll probably never see me throw anything up on Udemy or Teachable or any of those. The one exception would be if I want to do it to promote all my other content on my site. So at some point I had considered, and I had begun to write an outline for like a basic QuickBooks course that I might throw up on Udemy. And the whole purpose of that would be to promote my brand and my other stuff, so because then Udemy would get me access to an audience I may not already have. And so, that would bring in the audience, and hopefully little by little, they would research me, find out who I am, and end up on my site and say, oh, there's great stuff here for $25 a month, right? So I'm not a big fan of that. As far as doing a video, I've done a few videos here and there. In fact, one video somebody commented on my YouTube channel this morning was how to set up a subscription with WooCommerce that I forgot that I created a while back. And it looks like I'd only created the video and put it on YouTube. I never wrote it up and put it in the blog. So I made myself a note to do that. So if you search my YouTube channel for WooCommerce, you'll find that video. Brandon says Udemy and those platforms are great. Yes, promotion because there's so many people there. So yeah, that's the point of it. Is to promote your brand, but I would never make my whole revenue model around my content based on sites like those. I would always encourage people to put it up on your own website and just use those other platforms as a way of drawing in traffic. I haven't been too moved to use them even for promotional purposes because I've been very successful using social media for that purpose to draw the audience in, especially YouTube itself, right? So I haven't found it necessary to use this, but at some point I might. It's one of those things where, like when I have time, if things slow down ever, then I'll probably, run a course up into Udemy, or Teachable or one of those other ones. So Brandon says Udemy and those platforms are great. Okay, same thing. Good use case for open drip email campaigns then to show workflow for multiple if-then-that type email workflows. Are you talking about Lucidchart? And by the way, feel free to join us live. A lot easier than me just reading people's comments to the world. Meanwhile, I do want to show some other tools. So quick recap from last time. Just to kind of go over what we talked about a couple of weeks ago. We talked about where ideas come from. Right? And think about what you've experienced this week, right? What did you do this week that you really enjoyed? Something you did for a client that made the client very happy, that you got excited about, right? Just keep notes about those kinds of things. Find a place where you can take and keep those notes. There's a lot of great places to do it. I showed you Dynalist last week, which I love for that. And when it comes to these kind of apps that I use to track ideas and things, I always wanted to have a good mobile app because the point is I could be, and I often use this example, I could be sitting and waiting for a haircut when the inspiration hits. So I want a good mobile app where as quickly as the inspiration hits, I need to, in like 10 seconds, be able to get something open where I can jot the thought down before it escapes me again, right? Because if your brain is anything like mine, then it's like a freight train moving at 1,000 miles an hour, and you can quickly catch a thought and then lose it if you don't get it down real quick, right? So I have to I wish I could just plug something into the back of my head and download the shit that goes through my brain sometimes. So I want something quick, and Dynalist has a great mobile app for that, and I showed you that last time. It's really a bullet point kind of app, but it's just great. It makes it really easy to lay things out. On my screen, I have the brain. The brain I wouldn't have suggested for this up until maybe within the last 6 to 8 months because they finally got it right with their mobile app. Their mobile app is actually really good now, where you can sync this to the cloud and then back to your mobile. And I can go in here. So if I have, let's say I have an idea about a piece of content I want to write about a CRM, and here you can say I already have Nimble in here, right? And I can just come over here and add a quick thought and say, Nimble for Brandon will appreciate this. If I want to do something on how to use Nimble for QB resellers, right? Or Intuit resellers, right? Because we're going to be doing a webinar next week talking about this specifically, right? Because we have a lot of people who resell QuickBooks products like QuickBooks Enterprise and QuickBooks Payments and even QuickBooks Online. So I can go into something like this, and over here it's very hard to see, but at the very bottom right of my screen there's a little in-pointing arrow. I click that and it opens up the notepad, right? But I can also add all kinds of things. I can add initially a link to a file, then I can move that file permanently into the brain. I can link to a URL, and each of these thoughts has a folder that goes with it. So and what I love about using this for content creation itself is when I create a piece of content, there's often a number of sort of resources that go with that piece of content, right? Of course, there's the video that I've created and there's the blog post I've written that's going to be in Google Docs, but there may be some image files, there may be some other files, a template that goes with the piece. So I love this because since each of these thoughts has their own folder, I can pop open that folder and drag and drop files in, and all of that's going to sync to the cloud. So if later on I'm at a conference and somebody says, hey, Seth, I love that post you did on Nimble for QuickBooks resellers. There was a template in that post. Do you have it? I can grab it right on my mobile app and send it to them in a heartbeat because I keep all the resources used for a particular piece of content in one place always. I am ridiculously organized about that kind of stuff. So the brain is a good place for this, you know, and you can, like I said, you can jot down notes here, and there's all kinds of other stuff you can do in terms of tracking and organizing your thoughts. That's why they call each of these a thought in the brain, and that's why they call it the brain, because it's a way of getting your brain sort of downloaded onto some digital platform that's easily searched and categorized and referenced and so on and so forth. So I love the brain for this kind of thing. Downside of the brain is if you're trying to collaborate with people on it, each user has to pay for their own subscription. It's about $250 a year, which I think is very well worth it, but I realize that some people's budgets don't necessarily allow for that. For me, it's like a no-brainer. So that's the brain. Another one I came across, Evernote is the obvious one, and I still have a lot of my blog sort of profiles in Evernote. I'll show you what that might look like really quick. I'll pull up one that I did recently. Let's go with blog post ideas here. So I have a notebook in Evernote called blog post ideas because for the longest time, this is what I used to use before I started doing everything pretty much in Active Collab. Let's see what I got here that I've done recently. So here's one, how to enter payroll with QuickBooks Online. So here's what the Evernote note looks like after the whole thing is created. So ultimately I put in the site URL, you know, where it's located on the web. I have the Vimeo video, the YouTube video, the Google Drive folder here, so I can quickly link over to it if I want to go in there and work on it. And here's a link directly to the Google Doc where I wrote the post, and here's the Google Sheet template that was used with the post that's offered to people for free in this particular post, right? So there's a number of platforms you can use. Evernote is obviously great for this. I could easily do the same thing in the brain because I can use the URLs, right? I wouldn't link to a file, I'd link to a URL for all the Google Drive stuff. You know, since I do everything in Google Drive now, that's what I love about Google Drive is, you know, it's a URL that's central and you know, accessible anywhere no matter what. It's not even synced to my desktop. It's just there and alive in the cloud. So again, I could see now that the brain has developed a much better mobile app, I could see myself moving towards something like this for the future for all of my content profiles, so to speak. Let me check our Facebook feed to see what, if any, questions we have. Okay, Sarah Laidlaw asked, join live house. Sarah, you've joined live in these webinars with us for years. So if you go onto the website, you know, the registration link's there. It's always been there. Same place. Just go onto the website under podcasts and Zoom in with Seth. And the topmost post is always the post to register. And then, of course, once you've registered, you get the link to join, especially if it's already ongoing.
Seth, Mariette, I think, is in the...
oh, she's in the queue? Mariette says she's here. I'm here.
Yeah,
I'm here.
yeah.
Okay, let me... we have two people in there. Oh, Brandon, too. Yeah, see, once I get going, it's hard for me to pay attention to that.
I know, I should. I'll look for you.
Perfect. Okay, so another one I started playing with recently that I'm kind of excited to show you all. is actually a Zoho product, and it's called Zoho Notebook. And I love it because it's very visual. So I started using this for a while. And it's really a simple text editor, but again, it's cloud-based with an amazing mobile app. And the bottom line is with the mobile app, in less than 10 seconds, I can have a document open and I can be writing in it, right? So here's one I wrote on Airtable app ecosystem, which is a post that I've done. It's live on my website. This is where I happen to write this one. And I don't know, call me kooky, but I like the little things, like the fact that I can go in here and change the color. Especially because I spend a lot of time in these things, because I can get up on a Saturday morning and I can be in this for, 2 hours working on content. And so I like things that visually give me a lot of flexibility, because if I'm going to be looking at it for extended periods of times, I want it to be sort of easy on my eyes and easy and fun to work with, right? And so I do actually look for that in these kind of apps. So downside to Zoho, there's no collaborative capabilities built in. It's really just a notebook for you and you alone, right? Which for this purpose is fine, because this isn't something I necessarily ever need or plan to share. What do you call it? So anyway, so I love this app for this kind of purpose. And that's why I always say it's the right tool for the right job. You have to understand what these tools do well and where their limitations are. And knowing that will help you decide whether or not you're going to use it. And if you're going to use it, what kinds of things you're going to use it for, right? Because I reached out to them and said, hey, am I missing something? Is there not a way to share a notebook with somebody? And they said, no, not yet. But I love this because it's visual, and as you can see, I've used it for a few different purposes. I created a separate notebook for stuff I want to write for Firm of the Future. This is a notebook I created for my last Israel trip. I played around with this one to do a notebook just like to keep a journal, right? This is where I was for a while using this to write my weekly newsletters that I send out every Sunday to all of you guys. And this was just me playing around with the different cover art. I was like, this is cool things to remember. It's just a really cool elephant graphic. And hopefully everybody understands why the association with the elephant and things to remember. I hope. But if not, ask and I'll answer. Let's see. What else have we got? I also love Trello for this kind of thing. Right? Trello is a great place to keep track of your content ideas. I actually recently went back into Trello and started cleaning up because I had like stuff that I had abandoned from like 5 years ago still in here, because I don't use Trello much anymore. But you see here I have one called Course Ideas. And I think most of you know how to use Trello. Pretty obvious, how to use this. You can create different silos for, any number of different things, whether it be prioritizing what content you want to make sure you get out right away, or just different topics, right? Or you could just create a different board. So you can create a board for all your QuickBooks Online ideas. And, once you've created something, again, really easy to do, just like I did with Evernote. I can link files, I can attach files, I can have the links to the YouTube video and the Vimeo video and all that stuff right here in Trello inside the cards. So Trello, and again, Trello, awesome mobile app. Trello is just one of those apps that I've always just wanted to use, but I end up finding other things that I like better for the purposes that I've started to use Trello for every time. And Trello, after a while, for me, it just gets clunky. It gets hard to find things when I start adding a lot of stuff to it. But for something like this, it would be perfect. And I'll show you how I use Active Collab now for content, because this is based on an article I was reading, because I was actually looking for information on how to organize my ideas better. I'm usually pretty good at this stuff, but I was starting to get overwhelmed, and I had ideas in all these different places, Evernote and here and Trello and whatever. So I read an article that suggested that you take your ideas wherever you're cataloging them, and you organize them according to priority. So you're going to have your ideas that are going to be like high quality, right? So I started going through all these. I use tasks obviously now, and here in Active Collab to catalog my ideas for what I want to create. Ultimately, then the profile goes to Evernote, right? So this is just to keep track of the ideas. When I'm done producing it, this gets marked complete, and I've got the profile. So I'm still ultimately using Evernote to permanently house the the information about that post. So here, though, in order to help me decide, because sometimes I know exactly what I want to sit down and do. Other times I'm going to go here and say, all right, what ideas have I had? What can I work on today, right? So I'll go in here and I started organizing it based on this, based on the level of quality, right? And quite frankly, like low quality are things I've run across where ultimately when I looked at my idea again, I was like, this is really kind of negative in nature. I saw somebody post something else that I disagreed with, and I wanted to write that rebuttal post. Last week or 2 weeks ago, I talked about that's the kind of post you can do. You can do a rebuttal post that's essentially your take on something somebody else has done. And I showed you a positive one that I did on something Gene Marks had published. But I also will come up with ideas like this, like it's funny. And sorry, I hope none of you are offended by this because some of you have probably done this. But there are certain like buzzwords that we start hearing over and over again, and it drives me crazy. Like, oh, this is a game changer. So I wrote this title here. This is not a game changer, and it was my way of sort of attempting to eventually write a post, kind of poking fun at people who overuse that phrase, because it's one of those phrases that's overused. All of a sudden now everything's a game changer. I could, go out and trip on the newspaper on my front lawn, and somehow that becomes a game changer. Literally, right? Literally, not figuratively. That's another term that's overused, right? Everything is literally now, and now literally has to be redefined to mean figuratively. So anyway, so that's what I ended up putting in low quality, because anything that's sort of negative in nature like that, where I'm going to be putting something or someone else down, goes to low quality, and it'll probably never get done, because it's usually something I realize after the fact. That's not the kind of energy I really want to put out there. I might think it, right? I might be tempted to do it because it's fun and it's easy to point my finger at somebody else and make fun of somebody else, and in the end, it's going to make somebody somewhere feel bad. So I decided probably best to stick with the high quality stuff. The high quality stuff is, notice I put here lucid chart on onboarding project, right? So as you can see, I wasn't making it up. I actually really mean it when I say this stuff. I have it literally in my plans, right, to incorporate this. This is something where I was talking with my friends at Bilby's on doing a campaign called Be Like Seth, because we were talking about how a lot of people want to be like me in terms of, a lot of people tell me they mimic what I do in terms of how they do things or what they do or content that they want to create. So they were encouraging me to do something like that. Oh, Mariette says, that's me. What's you? Or Mariette, are you one of the people that uses the game changer phrase a lot? Oh, the buzzwords. Buzzwords aren't bad, don't get me wrong. It's just certain ones start to get overused after a while, which means they kind of lose their effectiveness, right? That's what I tend to watch out for, is, when something's overused, it loses its effectiveness. It doesn't bring out the kind of reaction I'm, hoping or intending on it bringing out. So anyway, this is how I started to use Active Collab. And then I have the medium quality stuff, which is stuff that's like maybe okay, but the second time I look at it, I'm not quite as inspired by it as I might have been when I originally put the idea down, right? And some of these are just headlines that I write. I don't know if I'll ever write the stuff, but I get ideas and I put them down because you just never know. And sometimes I can look at some of these ideas and think, oh, that's crap. And then I can look at the same thing a week later and get inspired about it and say, you know what? No, this is something I can do. I can make it really cool, right? So that's Active Collab and how I use it to sort of manage my content and my ideas. We talked also about how using your own writing, when you start writing one thing, you'll often get inspired to produce other ideas, right? So your own writing actually will become the inspiration for more stuff that you do. Feedly, did I show you guys Feedly last time? I couldn't remember if I did. Yeah? No?
So
Greg,
it might have been in 97 and up.
Well, let me just bring it up just in case. So Feedly it's an aggregator. Feed.ly. This kind of took over big time when hold on. When Google got rid of Google Reader. Everybody kind of went to Feedly here. So I use Feedly to aggregate the stuff that I like to read, right? You can organize it by topic. And then, and then I can read this. Sometimes this is what I read in the morning. Like this is instead of reading the newspaper, this is my newspaper, right? It's a newspaper that I've created essentially based on all the things I like to read from all the different sources that I enjoy reading things from. And I think I might have mentioned last time, Reddit is I haven't used Reddit myself, but it's probably a good place to start using. My understanding is the mobile app experience with Reddit is much better than the web app. The reason I haven't used it much is the web app is just plain ugly. It's just like somebody threw the oatmeal onto the screen and they're expecting you to somehow make sense of it. But I constantly hear from people how Reddit is a great place to go for ideas and also to participate in conversations and then to see where people might be struggling with something so that you can get inspired, go produce the content and go back into that conversation, write a helpful answer, and then say, and by the way, I also have this blog post I wrote that goes a lot deeper on this subject if you're interested in learning more. But always provide a complete and helpful answer in those discussions before linking out, especially Reddit. Reddit, they're like crazy on top of people about not sort of spamming it. They're very, and I don't blame them for doing that. So, and I had the note that another place to get ideas is social media, reading what others are posting, which goes back to Feedly as the perfect place for that. We talked about checking what's trending. If you go on to twitter.com, it will show you what hashtags are trending. So that's a great place to go. And again, just quickly recapping tools for capturing ideas. We had Dynalist, we had Evernote, Zoho Notebooks, Trello, and the Brain. And then there's the writing process. And that's where I started to show you last week. I use Dynalist because Dynalist is great for creating bullet points, and I can easily and quickly reorganize those bullet points so that I can organize my content the way I want it. And then I essentially take those bullet points, drop them into the Google Doc, and go inside each bullet point and write the paragraph that goes with that bullet point. And little by little, that's how my content evolves into a final written piece. And then once I've written it, I'm going to go into WordPress with it. I usually paste it without all the formatting, because if you paste it with the formatting, it's going to take the formatting from your Google Doc, which may not be consistent with your CSS for your website. So important when you're pasting it into WordPress to, you copy it and then you right click and choose paste as plain text and then reformat it in WordPress with the Word doc or Google Doc open as a guide for what you wanted formatted and where. That's important because it will take the formatting with it if you simply paste it in, and then it's not going to have the consistent look and feel that you want for your website. So that's an important tip. I don't think I mentioned that last time. So write the outline and then fill in the info, and then when you get it into WordPress, format it. Then we're going to use what's called Yoast. It's like toast but with a Y. And that's going to help us optimize the content. Yoast will guide you through the readability and the SEO. You have to decide what key phrase you want it sort of searched for, right? So we're talking long tail key phrases. We talked about this 2 weeks ago. So if I just do if I just use the word QuickBooks, forget it. You're not going to rank for that. There's just way too much competition. You need the whole title, QuickBooks Online for real estate brokers, right? That whole long title would be my key phrase that I would drop into Yoast that I wanted optimized for. And then Yoast will tell me whether or not I have enough instances of that phrase in the content. It will tell me if I've written too much in a passive voice, and then it has articles on their website that teach you how to turn a passive voice into an active one. And that's important for writing for the web. And there's a whole other list of things that they'll walk you through how to do. My writing has literally improved behind using Yoast. So use Yoast. That's all I can say. It's a really important tool, and it works beautifully with WordPress. And bottom line is, it's like we're like, in some respects, I like to liken us to like a bunch of little Pavlov's dogs. We like those notifications, those red notifications on Facebook. I've got 20 notifications. Oh my God, I've got to click those notifications. Who needs something? What do they need? What do I have to click on? And Yoast gives us those green lights. It's that very visual notification that lets me know, okay, this content is ready. It's optimized. I can publish this as is. Right.
Hey, Seth, one of the other things it does is if you get the premium version, it helps you to choose an image for Facebook and Twitter. You can put different descriptions in there as well. So if somebody is on your article and they want to share it, you can choose what's going to show up however they post it that way. So there's
very nice
benefits to doing the premium version. Right.
Thank you for mentioning that. But yeah, and that does become very important. It's context, right? It's going to look different on different sites like Facebook versus Twitter versus LinkedIn, and especially if you want the stuff posted on Instagram, that's really different. Because with Instagram, and I don't think Yoast addresses Instagram, not yet anyway. But when you're posting, when you're sharing your content to Instagram, remember you can't put links in your Instagram post. So it's a whole different approach with Instagram if you're trying to share your blog content on there. which I think I talked about last time, and I believe I showed you all how I addressed that. But if you want, we can talk about that again another time. We're running a little short on time this morning. But Yoast SEO will help you optimize this stuff really well, and make sure that, my rule now is I don't publish unless I've got a green light on both readability and SEO with Yoast. If it's not green for both, it's not ready to be published yet. It's worth waiting an extra week until I get the time to finish optimizing it, or whatever it takes. And it's like anything else. The more I do it, the better I get. Like more and more often now, because I understand what Yoast has taught me about how to write this stuff, I've had a lot of posts that I've dropped in, and right from the get-go, I've got a green light on SEO or on readability. On a rare occasion, I've actually gotten a green light on both, and then that makes me worry, like, maybe I did something wrong here. But but it's a great tool to make sure that your content is optimized. And again, keep in mind, it's only as good as what you make of it. So just choose your long tail key phrase carefully. What are people going to be searching for that you want your post to come up in the results? And remember that it's kind of like what we talked about last time, where we said, if I'm trying to sell to everyone, I may as well sell to no one. It's the same idea. If I'm going to try and use a one-word key phrase like QuickBooks, nobody's going to find me because there's way too much stuff out there using the word QuickBooks. You got to be much more specific than that. And I mean much more specific. In fact, you got to be really specific about who this content is for. So there's a tendency to think, oh, but I want to draw in a lot of people. No, you don't want to draw in a lot of people. You want to draw in a few people who are very interested in what you're talking about. And that's a much better way to go.
Doesn't Google have a free resource? I think it's Google Trends or something like that, where you can actually look up search terms and by popularity. So it's a good way to find out what would be hot words and not for free.
Yeah, and they have a keyword tool that I've used a lot. So you can drop your key phrase that you think you want to optimize for, and it will give you kind of results, and it will give you similar results, similar keyword phrases, and you can see what the search volume is for these keywords. And even if you're not doing the pay-per-click piece, it's still interesting to note which keywords have a high value for pay-per-click purposes, because obviously those are being used by companies who can afford to spend lots of money on those keywords. So you actually want to avoid those. What you really want are the keywords that have high search volume but very low pay-per-click costs associated with them. That's hard to find, but if you do, then you know you've got a sweet spot, and if anything, that's a good way to say, all right, so I'm going to write a post specifically for that key phrase. Right? So if you really want to get into the search engine optimization strategies, that's really the way that I've done it when I've wanted to really spend the time and look for things that can draw in a lot of traffic. That's the key, is you want the stuff that's got high search volume but low cost per click, because that's the stuff that you can easily rank for, because for whatever reason, even though a lot of people are searching for it, nobody's bidding on it keyword-wise, because you're not going to be able to compete with the stuff that companies are bidding a lot of money on, even if you write the most well-optimized post in the world.
That's where Ahrefs comes back into play again. It does a great job where you can see your cost per click, or I'm sorry, even your competitor's cost per click. So you can look at your own domain, figure out what has the most who's bringing you the most backlinks from what other domains out there. You can look at your competition, see what articles are the most popular on theirs, as well as who's backlinking to them the most. So you can kind of stalk them that way and know where to go to if you need to.
Right. And even in the Google keyword tool, some people have told me they thought this was a little shitty of me, but the reality is I can take a competitor's domain and drop it in and see what their website is optimized for and try and optimize for the same stuff, So it's, I think it's just, that's life. It's information that's available to the public. If I have somebody in our accounting world who I know is getting a lot of search traffic, it's available. Google has made it available. I can drop their domain in and see what they're optimizing for and write content around those same subjects, right? If that's my goal. Basically, it's basically saying, this person has what I want. I want to go do what they did so I can have what they have. It's not stealing from them. It's just finding out who's doing it really well and trying to mimic them and learn from them, actually, is the way I look at it. And that's, to me, that's the way to go with this stuff. So last but not least, because we just have a few minutes left, and I started to go over this last time, but people, you know what, actually, before I go there, let me just look something up real quick, because there was another tool I wanted to show you all that's actually really cool for organizing your content.
Share screen.
What?
Share your screen?
No, I will. I'm not there yet. I got to bring it up first. I have it in Dynalist based on Chris Brogan actually showed this to me. And of course, Dynalist for some reason is not playing well today. Here it goes. So somewhere in here, he showed me an app. Maybe I put it in here. Let me search for it. It was like a writing tool. And sorry, I should have, these are my notes that I take when I have my sort of coaching sessions with him. And it was in one of these. I'll have to come back and find it later. It's a tool that lets you write content, but it lets you very easily, kind of like what Dynalist lets you do. It lets you quickly and easily grab like a paragraph and move it here, or grab a piece of a paragraph, and it lets you reorder and reorganize your content really easily. And now I can't find it. So if I do find it, I know I will find it. It's there in my notes, but I will let you all know what I'm talking about. It was a really, really cool app. And I'm a little disappointed in myself that I didn't do a better job of cataloging it somewhere. Anyway, last thing, in our 97 and up course, all this kind of stuff we're talking about is outlined. So for those of you who are in it, this is where you can go to find it. We have a whole section called Build Your Money Site, a course in WordPress. Teaches you how to use all this stuff. And we have another section in the course called Become a Content Creation Machine, right? And this walks through all the stuff we're talking about, even walks you through step-by-step how to write the blog post, starting with the bullet points, filling in the content, eventually getting in, recording your video, editing your video, processing your video, all of it. Also, again, writing it, how to use Yoast SEO. I think I created like a 45-minute video where I actually go through and optimize a post right in front of you so you can really learn how I used Yoast SEO in this course. And then the video part. So this literally gives you the step-by-step outline for how to create your content, from writing it to the video to having the whole thing published and online. I even go through processing and uploading. So I go through the settings to use in Camtasia, how to get the best audio quality, how to get the best video quality out of what you've produced. Marriott says, I've got some questions on Facebook Live. So let me go over there. But all this stuff is, I walk you through it step by step. And then, of course, you have our twice weekly calls on Tuesday and Thursday where you can ask and get questions answered. All right, so which of my past Zoom would be best for intro to SEO strategies? I don't know that we've done one specifically on SEO. Maybe that'll be next. Maybe Matt will agree to join me as my co-host on that one, since Matt seems to have a lot of experience with this.
Happy to.
All right, Matt, you're recruited. So that's what we'll do next Friday. I just have to double check that I don't have anything else scheduled for next Friday, but I don't think I do. And Merritt says, Matt, you mentioned AppSumo. Can you share what's the benefit? So yeah, we have a couple minutes left. Tell us a little bit about AppSumo.
So AppSumo, it's a website that's based on like SaaS products. So you get different companies that are trying to get their product out there and in front of people, or they're trying to do fundraising without doing like VC wise. So they'll do lifetime deals on certain products. And the one I was talking about right now is one called Short Pixel. Short Pixel is an image optimizer. It's a WordPress plugin. So anytime I go and I put any imagery on my website or any of them, what it will do is it will actually automatically shrink it and condense the images down so it makes the page not as heavy. Because of that, the lifetime deal for $29, I literally paid $29 a year ago for 10,000 images. Now you get it for lifetime, and you can do subdomains. So for me, I've got my Parkway domain, my VendorSync domain, a new QB thing domain. Like, all of these different domains, I can have this one subscription and handle all of those. And AppSumo was kind of cool because you get a 60-day period to try it. If you don't like it, you get your money back. So I have like a reoccurring budget that I just keep testing things out with. And if I like it, I keep it. If I don't, I don't.
Great. Great. So maybe we, again, Matt, you and I will get together this week and outline something for next Friday. And maybe we can talk about all this kind of stuff because I think it's really good stuff. And clearly there's an interest. So Mariette says, don't leave us hanging on the elephant comment. Oh, so I missed that. I guess somebody wanted to know, I guess Mariette wanted to know what that's about. Elephants are known for having very good memories. They remember everything. So if you've gone and tried to hurt an elephant and you come back 5 years later and you haven't seen that elephant since, he or she is going to remember you and they're going to stomp on you with their big front foot. So that's where the elephant reference comes from. That's why Evernote uses, has the elephant as part of their logo and their branding, because the idea of Evernote was remember everything, right? Because you just jot it down in a digital notebook and you'll never have to worry about remembering it because it's always there. You can always go back and find it when you need it. Sarah is asking about subdomains. So there's two ways to organize content on a website. I can have essentially folders, right? So I could have nerdenterprises.com/Zoom, right? And so I could put it in that kind of a structure. And then there's subdomains where I could put, which would be something like zoom.nerdenterprises.com. That's a subdomain. So it's technical webby stuff. But there are arguments both ways, SEO-wise, where I've read some articles that say subdomains are better for SEO. I've read other articles that say the folder is better. So that I guess the jury's still out on that one. Matt, I don't know if you have an opinion about that.
The purpose of it is trying to get like your keyword in the URL. So like for us, we're in Ventura County, so I literally purchased Ventura Bookkeeper, Santa Paula Bookkeeper, like all those different domains.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you do searches, they can then lead back. So a subdomain, same kind of a concept. It's not used all too often that way, but you could stuff a different keyword into your URL in front. So it could be QuickBooks.Parkway.business if I wanted.
Right.
You could do anything along those lines.
Right. And so, Sarah, yes, to clarify, the subdomain, it comes before the final domain name. So it's going to be something.yourdomain.com. That's a subdomain.
Usually subdomains are used for like portals. So if you've got go to my accounts, you can put out your own subdomain in front of it. So you could do billing.yourwebsite or portals.yourwebsite as a way for your clients to access it, and it still is branded with your site in a sense because it's got your domain.
Right. No, and that's true. And so Sarah says I have both before and after confusing. So again, before, like Matt said, the purpose is usually to create some, like if you have a forum, that's where I've seen it used a lot. If I have a forum, which is like an online discussion, kind of like a Facebook group, but built into my own website, that's where I might use a subdomain. So it'd be like, QuickBooks.nerdenterprises.com or QuickBooks.forum.nerdenterprises.com. That's how I've seen subdomains get used a lot.
So in T-Sheets, you do parkway.tsheets.com.
Right. Right. And that's a great way to, if I wanted to create different partner pages on my website, I could do, like tsheets.nerdenterprises.com and have a whole page dedicated to just T-Sheets with my affiliate link so that that's where people would go to learn more about T-Sheets from me and then click a link to go sign up and I get credit for having sent them. So it doesn't have to be confusing. It's only confusing if you don't have a clearly defined process for how you use which, right? Most of your stuff on your website is going to come after the domain. It's going to be yourdomain.com/something, right? That's how most of the stuff is going to be organized. Subdomains, if you're going to create them, usually they are going to be created with a very specific intention in place for why you're doing it and when you're doing it and how. It seems unlikely that you would accidentally wind up with a subdomain for something. But if you do have that, then take a look with whoever works on your website for you and figure out there should be some kind of logic to it. Kind of like what we do with apps in our ecosystem, right? I don't just randomly use apps. I have a specific purpose and intention for how I use those. Sarah said, just got Lucid Chart. Damn, I wanted to give you my affiliate link for that. So just if there's a place for it, tell them who sent you. Anyway, we are just about out of time. So like I said, for those of you who aren't already in 97 and up, please join us. We're having a lot of fun in there. We're having a lot of great discussions in there. And I think you can learn a lot, and I think it's very worthwhile. especially for the price. So that's all the stuff we're talking about. The whole outline for how to create your content is all spelled out there. A couple weeks ago, we did have somebody join up just because of what I shared here. So maybe today we'll get somebody else. The only question is that going to be you? Shameless self-promotion there. So anyway, so now I'm excited. Next week, Matt and I are going to come back and talk to you about SEO, and we're going to give you some more tools and tricks for how to use the content that you're creating to draw in more traffic, because that's, at the end of the day, that's the name of the game here. We want to produce the content. We want to make sure people see it. SEO is how we make sure people see it, because there's a lot of content going out there every day, so it's getting harder and harder to be found. So your job is to not try and have the whole world find you, because they're not going to care, but to identify that specific. That's why we talk about doing niches now as accountants, right? And that's going to help with this stuff too, because that gives you a very narrow focus in terms of who you're targeting with your content, and then ultimately who you're targeting with your SEO, search engine optimization. So we will see you all around the web, of course. The Authentic Accountant podcast officially goes live on Tuesday, actually. I keep saying Monday, but I had Monday as the day, but the date is August 14th. So that's going live on Tuesday. You'll see our first 2 episodes are going to be with Doug Sleater and Clayton Oates, and we have a couple others that are going to post probably within the next 2 days or so after that. So we're going to have some great episodes there, and then they're just going to come out weekly from there. I've created a Facebook group for it, but I'm not going to invite anyone in until after we actually start launching the episodes, and that way we can continue the conversation. My aim is to have the guests in that Facebook group. That way, if you've listened to the episode and you want to talk to that guest and ask them more questions, they will be there, and, just obviously respect people's time, but, hopefully you can get some questions answered. Mariette in the chat, she says, literally, mind blown by today's game changers. And I think that is a perfect note to end the show on. Matthew, you're going to say something?
Nope, not anymore.
Okay, fair enough. All right, we'll see you all next week. Matthew, I'll talk to you. In fact, we have to meet at Brent's Deli. We're due for that anyway.
Okay, I'll call you.
All right, very good. I'll see you all later.